Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from the Santa Cruz Voice. And it's a beautiful day to be alive, beautiful day in Santa Cruz. And it's very interesting. I had a staff meeting with all of my great staff this afternoon before coming over here and just talking about what it's like to serve people. And we've gotten a lot of people, we've helped them through a lot of real rough times, and that's one of our major goals is to help people enjoy their life and go out and be able to do the things they want to do. In fact, I have a book in the front office called "The Greatest Goal in the World," or "The Greatest Goal There Is," the highest thing that you could possibly do. And you open the book up, hardcover book, and it's one page, one word on that one page, and it says serve. So serving other people is really a key. That's what we do to help people stay healthy, to help them achieve their goals and dreams. And, it's a pretty cool thing. Oftentimes people come into the office and they're being burdened by something going on with their life and their health. They feel like they're consumed with whatever's going on with their health. And this is a problem because there's so much that can be done about it. And it's such a joy when we have people come up to the front and say, wow, you guys have done this for me, you've done that for me. It's pretty amazing. Um, I'll relate a story to you. I had last week, a gentleman come in with peripheral neuropathy, actually was wondering whether we could help him. And he'd come to my workshop, the peripheral neuropathy workshop. Most times when people come to those workshops, they've been on the planet for the most part for a while. And, they've had injuries and been exposed to different types of chemicals and various other stressors. At that point, the nerves start to die in your hands or your legs. They're lacking oxygen and nutrition, so they start to die. Anyway, this guy came in and he wanted us to take a look whether or not we thought we could help him. So I sat down with him, listened to what he had to talk about, said, well, let's find out. We're going to do some testing on you. We'll get a full set of x-rays so we can see what's going on. And then I was going to have him come back the next day for a report of findings. And he came back the next morning and he could not formulate a sentence. And this was very strange because he was a very proper, well-spoken man the day before. So I immediately knew that there was something going on, and we got him to the hospital. And that was on a Friday, and I was concerned about him. So over a week ago, I ended up calling. I had his cell phone. I called a couple times, talked to one of his family members at one point, and he was just off to do more testing. Well, Tuesday morning, he said, I just got out of the hospital. The first place I stopped was here because I think you saved my life, and I want to say thank you, because he'd had basically a mini stroke. And the whole point is not to say, wow, I did that, but we have to be aware of what's going on in the world. The healthcare system is so different now than it has been. And the 35 years I've been in practice, I just see so many different types of things walking in the door now. A lot more tumors, a lot more um, metabolic diseases that we wouldn't see typically in a chiropractic office. But since I've reached out and branched out into the another whole realm out of necessity, I've reached out and started studying a lot more neurology, a lot more nutrition, cellular detoxification, because the cell is where all of the inflammation is. The cell wall, well, it can be around the whole body, but it gets in the brain and it gets in the cells and it starts to cause dis-ease. And soon it turns into disease. So our goal is to help people get their lives back and have their body at ease so they can enjoy the rest of their life. So anyway, it was a very interesting that, he had this going on. Thank God he came to us because his wife has got some dementia of her own. So he may not have even realized that he was not able to be cognizant. I've seen a lot more interesting cases come in, and we get them right to the doctor as soon as we can, to a medical doctor if it's not in our realm. But the real thing is that, life is there for the living, and to be burdened down with your health care is, or the quality of your health is really not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on everything else out there, having fun, the family, the kids, pursuing a family or kids, pursuing an enjoyment like music or being with other people, being able to walk on the beach, walk in the beautiful mountains that we have in here, Santa Cruz, from the mountains to the sea. And when our health goes, we lose the ability to enjoy that. And oftentimes it goes so subtly that we don't notice it until one day it like hit us like, boom, we can't do this or we can't do that. So one of the things that I like to do on my radio shows is just bring up some points that might help you know that you can be healthy or know that you have those chances in life to be healthier. There's so much going on. I was looking on the local, or not world news really, to try to see what's trending today. What would people be interested in? And the most trending topic I see is inflammation in the body and how inflammation plays a role in mental health, in mental acuity, in physical health, and organ system health. So maybe talking about what this is and how to recognize whether or not you have it would be helpful for you. Well, first of all, we all do have cellular inflammation to some degree or other. We have 75 trillion cells, and their survival potential of each one of those 75 trillion cells is, based on how well that cell communicates with it's all of its brethren and sisterin there. So these cells work in groups, they form colonies like organs, systems like circulatory, neurological, respiratory, musculatory, there's 11 different systems in the body. And they all are made up with trillions of cells, all controlled by the nerves coming out of your spine and your skull, going to down the spine and then to those organs via the peripheral nervous system. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, if you think about it, gosh, we have 75 trillion cells all orchestrating and doing 60 millions of things a second, all controlled by the brain, every cell. So what can we do to help make those healthy? Well, there's some easy, simple ones. You need to get enough good sleep. You need to eat well, drink enough water, and exercise. Those are the basics. So when we look at food, there's a lot of very bad foods out there, very unhealthy foods that cause inflammation in the body. And a lot of this is being addressed at the federal level right now because they're looking at banning some of the poisons that have been in our food for years and years and years. It's just kind of baffling to think that the Food and Drug Administration allowed synthetic dyes and chemicals in our food to make it look better, knowing that it was causing inflammation in the body, and chronic inflammation leads to chronic disease. So it's pretty crazy. So, you believe it or not, it's going to be much less expensive for you to buy organic food than non-organic food. Now, it just on the surface, it may not seem like it because the individual products might cost more. But nutrition-wise, there are a lot more vitamins and minerals in there, a lot less toxins for your body to have to digest. And in the long run, you're going to have a healthier body. So you're not going to end up with chronic diseases caused by a lifetime of accumulated toxins. Our bodies they run as well as we take care of them. And, if you had a car that was just running terrible and you took it in and you changed the oil and you made sure the windshield wipers were new, and you changed the windshield wiper fluid and made sure the transmission was topped off. You had air in your tires. You washed it and you took it to the parking lot. But if you put bad gas in it, you know, I don't care how good the car looks. If it's running off of bad fuel, the car is never going to run well, and it's going to start to break down, and the life of that car is going to be shortened. Just like you can exercise at the gym, you can do things to lose weight, whether it's some of these crazy fads out there or not, that are, some of them are pretty bad for you. You can have things done to your face and skin and hair and clothes and still put bad food in you. And ultimately, you're going to be sick, and your body's going to get chronic disease because bad genes get turned on when it's fed bad food. And just like the bad gas in your car, I don't care how well you do work out at the gym, how much water you drink, how much exercise you do, how well you sleep. If you don't get good fuel in your body, it's going to kill you, and it's going to cause those organs to break down. Unfortunately, it's usually a very slow demise. And one organ at a time goes away, stops functioning, and leaves you with devastation. So food is very important. Now we have a lot of farmers markets around here. We in Santa Cruz, we're lucky enough to live in like the bread basket or the fruit basket or vegetable basket of the world. We have so many amazing foods around here, but there's a lot of toxins in them too. We have the people that live down south of here they're sprayed with so many different chemicals in those fields. And even if it's an organic field right next door, the spray comes over. So, it's not enough to go, oh, I eat organic, I must be healthy. Well, you're eating organic now. You probably haven't your whole life. And if any of you have been around like 5 or 6 decades, 7 decades like me, then you realize there's been times where you just did nothing but take bad care of your body. That all adds up and builds up. So it's real important that we realize what we're putting in our body and try to take care of it. Water is very important, but if you're drinking tap water, you're doing more harm than good because of the toxins in the tap water. They haven't talked about this much lately, but they've done studies of water from cities where there's herbicides, pesticides, psych drugs, estrogens, and progesterones in the drinking water because that water gets put back into the system. It gets filtered and put back in the system, and then they can't filter out all this stuff, so it gets recycled. The best water is, of course, as pure as you can get. We have hydrogen water at our office, which is amazing. You can come get a little hydrogen bottle or even a unit for your house. Hydrogen is so cool. You've probably seen it online a little bit. Hydrogen is the smallest element on the planet, right? So two hydrogens make hydrogen gas, and that can get through into anything. So when you drink hydrogen waters, it's been infused with extra hydrogens that gets through the walls of your stomach. It doesn't even have to go into the intestines until that hydrogen gets into your bloodstream. Then it goes to every one of those 75 trillion cells, gets into the cell, gets into the cell wall, gets into the mitochondrial cell wall, and then grabs onto free radical oxygens. Hydrogen and oxygen make water. So it just turns it to water and gets it out of your system. So it's really important that you do drink a good amount of water, but it also has to be healthy water. And today you can get healthier water than ever before by drinking hydrogen water. So we do have that at our office. You can come in and say, hey, can I try it? Fill up a water bottle and see if it helps you. Now, it's kind of funny because we're so used to, if you grew up in the 60s like I did, you're so used to, you take something and put something in your body and you feel a difference. I mean, I grew up in Berkeley, and, my story, if you don't already, broke my back when I was young. Um, hanging out with the pills my doctor gave me didn't work. The ones my mom gave me didn't work. I went to a Jefferson Airplane concert and listened to Grace Slick talk about the White Rabbit and how those pills work better than mom's. And I got involved in that and almost killed me. But it was a very, very terrible part of my life as far as my health. As far as my mind, I don't remember much of it, but they tell me I was there. But as far as the what we put in our body, it's very important that we understand that we don't want to cover up symptoms. We want to recognize them. Symptoms are there to tell you something's wrong. People that come in with peripheral neuropathy symptoms, we see this all the time. And they usually it's been going on for years. They think it's going on for 4 or 5 months, but when you take a look at how damaged the peripheral nerves are, those are the nerves in the hands or feet, and even go into the organs, when they're lost 40, 50, 60, even 70% of their nerve conductivity, that's been going on for a long time. It's just like a very subtle condition that all of a sudden speaks up, kind of like a tooth cavity. You may not know you have a cavity till you know you have a cavity, and that's usually pretty painful. So, this is one reason we do complimentary consultations. We always want to make sure people feel that they can come in and talk about their health condition with somebody without being invested in it tremendously financially. There comes a point where I say, okay, look, maybe we can help you, maybe not. We need a little more information. I'm either going to want to take an X-ray or do some kind of other toxicity test or an evaluation of some sort. And there's a point to which we do have to have the exchange of money in for services rendered. But people have a choice to go yay or nay at that point. No, no harm, no foul. You can always just say thank you for your information. But I do this for several reasons, but one is we do so many things in my office that almost nobody else in town is doing. In fact, the whole package we do for, say, peripheral neuropathy, nobody else in town is doing. And we have the SoftWave therapy machine. I have the Zirconia lasers. We have 4 lasers. Amazing what they do. Vibration plates, piezo electromagnetic frequency machines. And then, of course, good old chiropractic, free up the nervous system. But, that's great to have all that stuff. But if you don't know what you're doing with it, it's only so good as the machine sitting there on the ground. So it's the experience of putting things together that allow us to know if we can help you. But so I've gone over food, I've gone over water. You know, we're lucky to live here in Santa Cruz because we've got all those negative ions coming off the ocean. Great clean air. We're not over the hill where we're breathing all this terrible stuff. But a lot of times people are locked up inside all day and they don't have an open window. They don't even think about it. They're breathing that air that's being recirculated through their heating system or uh, air conditioning. We don't have a lot of air conditioning here, but it's dead air and it's filled up with a lot of things in the house, a lot of the off-gassing of various furniture or things along that line. Even when you cook, you're creating a problem with the oxygen. So make sure you get out and get fresh air every day and get out and, get your lungs functioning. Because there's actually 5 ways our body detoxes. It used to be 4, but now it's 5. So the first one is through your large intestine, and your liver is the number one detox system in your body. So it basically filters your blood 5 times a minute and gets good, healthy substances back into the blood, circulating around those 75 trillion cells. And then it will either have that toxic go through the gallbladder and or the large intestine, and then or it will make it water soluble and send it over and say, hey, kidneys, you take care of this. So it takes poisons and toxins in your blood, gets rid of some itself, shunts over other stuff in a water soluble condition and acid base to the kidneys. And then the kidneys are supposed to eliminate that. And a lot of times, some of the oils come out through our skin and even through our sweat. a lot of elements and a lot of toxins come out of there. And then the fourth is our lungs. We breathe in hopefully clean air and breathe out carbon dioxide and also a lot of other off gases that go along with it. So it's important to get that air in your body and make sure you've got oxygenation. We test your oxygen levels when you come into the office for, say, peripheral neuropathy or something like that. We test both hands because we want to make sure that it's equal and there's not something being cut off. There's one more um, detoxification function in the body, and that is actually your brain. And it is what you put in, garbage in, garbage out. We have our vitamin G bottles at our office, 100% pure gratitude. And, you need to come pick one up if you don't have any. I was going to a party Sunday. One of my patients said, bring 30 bottles of gratitude. Well, guess what? I forgot it. Bad on me. That was one of those little brain bumps where I go, shoot, those people could have maybe enjoyed that. Because when you think about gratitude, gratitude creates these incredible neurotransmitters to be released in your body, like dopamine, serotonin, and even oxytocin. So we really want to make sure that we are expressing gratitude as much as we can. So for those of you listening to the radio, I'm going to take a short break. For the rest of you, I'm going to keep talking. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. McCollum coming to you from KSCO, and I'm glad to be with y'all. I'm just wanting to make sure that you guys know this is not KSCO, it's Santa Cruz Voice. I'm trying to do too many things at once, but I'm very happy to be here. I've got to try to figure this out here for a sec. Oh, I'm putting on the wrong one. Okay. I'm starting my commercial over because I pushed the wrong button here. It's very interesting being almost 70 years old and trying to run Facebook, Zoom, and a radio station at the same time. I recommend you try it. It's really good for your brain, but it also has a lot of challenges. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I'm here at Santa Cruz Voice, and I'm talking about the different things that can actually help your body be healthy. And, there's a lot of different things that affect our health, whether it's exercise, our nervous system, the foods we eat, various things like that. So I'm really trying to make sure that we understand that chronic inflammation is the biggest downfall for our health because it catches up with all of us. Basically, we live in a toxic environment. It's only getting more and more toxic. So the more we can actually address this and reduce it out of our health, out of our environment, the better off we could be. So I really think that it's one of the most important things is understanding that digestive function is the main key to detoxification. So if you're not having 2 to 3 BMs a day, your body's probably plugged up. Your large intestines probably got what we call intestinal permeability, which is a bad thing, or leaky gut, meaning some of the toxins inside your gut are leaking out of your gut into your bloodstream and circulating around those 75 trillion cells and causing inflammation at a cellular level. And when that happens, your body just can't be healthy. Okay, for those of you on Santa Cruz Voice, this is Dr. McCollum. I'm back. Thank you very much for listening today. Um, I've one of my main goals on being on the radio is to reach out to people that haven't really branched out of the traditional medicine realm and they feel kind of trapped or stuck or no place to go, nowhere to turn. That's what my job is. A couple of weeks ago, I pulled out my book, New Hope for Sciatica, and I was because of the time of year, it was almost 4 months, 5 years to the day that this book was supposed to be published in New York. And along with 32 other authors, we'd all worked to get our book ready for publishing. We all went out to New York and or as Washington, D.C. actually. Every book got published but mine. And we couldn't figure out why. It's because I had one word in there, and it was in March of 2020. Guess what that one word was? COVID. So they pulled my book off the market. It was my first health book. I've written 4 historical fiction books by that time, but no health book. And I've got a new one coming out soon. I also have Turn Back Your Biological Clock, which is a really, really great way to start to introduce yourself to ways of letting your body get healthy naturally. So if you want to get Turn Back Your Biological Clock, you can go to Amazon and order it there. But I thought I would read the author's note, the thing that got my book blackballed from the internet, and I had to rewrite the whole first part of the book just to get it on the available for sale. And then once everything calmed down, I was able to sneak in the right author's note, because I think it's important to understand that we can go. If I say everybody point on the count of 3, and if you're driving, don't do this. But if I say on the count of 3, point to something, and I say 1, 2, 3, and everybody points, I guarantee everybody's pointing at a different thing. But then if I said, okay, focus on, and I say some widget on the wall or a corner of the room, and I say on 3, everybody point, 1, 2, 3, and everybody points to that room, that focus is so much better. We do this with our staff quite a bit. So we're all going down the same path. So when we look at the healthcare system, there's so much gray areas and so many dead ends. It's like a labyrinth of trying to get healthy. Why do I say this? Well, we're rated 50th in the world for health. About 190 some odd nations, we're 50th. Of the real industrialized world, we're down near the bottom. Why is this? Well, we spend more money than any country in the world on healthcare. So you'd think if you spent more money than anybody, we'd be healthy, but we're not. We're sicker. Is that by design? I'll ask you. Now, we know we're trying to pull out all the heavy synthetic dyes and toxins and food additives out of our food at a federal level, making sure that we're not spraying our crops with poisons. And we know they're poisons and we know what the effects are, but we're doing it anyway. So this is a big turning point for not only for us, but for our children and grandchildren. When I was a kid, autism, maybe 1 in 3 or 4 out of 100 would get it. Chronic disease, about 6% would have some kind of autoimmune disease or diabetes or something like that. And it was usually type 1 diabetes, meaning the pancreas didn't work coming out of the womb. Now it's like 50% of the children have some kind of autoimmune disease. 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases. So, I could just go on and rip off all those stats, but what matters is we do something about it. It's really amazing to me because I see people come into my office and they're just not enjoying their life. And that's all life is there to be enjoyed. So if we can help you enjoy it a little bit more, then we've done our job. I think it's my 6th show here on Santa Cruz Voice. Dr. Duncan McCollum. I've been a chiropractor in Santa Cruz for over 35 years. And I'm in Capitola, right on Brown Ranch. And I would love for you to come by and say, I heard the show. Why don't you talk about this? Or I think you're crazy. Whatever you want would be great, because then I know that I'm being heard. Sometimes you have to wake people up by saying stuff that will challenge their belief system. And then perhaps they'll go explore that. And believe me, I'm challenging my belief system every day. I never believe that what I know is enough. In fact, I heard a guy say, I work with a bunch of really top chiropractors and medical doctors and acupuncturists and health coaches around the country. Every Tuesday from 10 to 11, we have a group of us get together and Dr. Dan Pompa, who leads the group, brings in these incredible scientists with the most amazing research they've done that nobody knows about yet because it won't get to mainstream for so long. But we're always looking at the newest way to help a cell get well, the newest way to help nerves heal, the newest way to detoxify the body. And it changes almost weekly, or we support what we have been learning. And there's a guy that came on and he said this great thing. He goes, look, before you can learn anything, you've got to forget what you know. So a lot of times people come in and they think they know everything. Yeah, I know that. I know this. I know that. I know this. And I've been guilty of that myself. How can you can't, you can't teach an unopened mind. You know, you can't inform an unopened mind. You have to get that thing opened up first. And sometimes it's, I don't want it to be too late where people go, well, this disease is so far gone now, I can't do anything about it. Sometimes it is. But I always believe the body is the most incredible physician on the planet, lives inside of you, and that's called your innate intelligence. So I'm going to read the foreword to my book here, and it is New Hope for Sciatica, published in, when did I publish this? Anyway, this is called The Auditor's Note, and it says, as I sit in the process of writing this book, perhaps the biggest wake-up call in modern history has plagued our planet. Even as I sit and write these words, citizens of our country, and in fact the whole world, are quarantined or confined to their homes. Entire cities and even countries have been shut down, and all non-essential businesses have been asked to temporarily close their doors. The quote, deadly unquote, coronavirus has arrived, and with it came mass hysteria. The powers that be, governments, nations, our own CDC, FDA, let alone the World Health Organization, have been turned on their ear. This coronavirus, invisible to the naked eye, has proven the biggest terrorist of all. It is almost like our planet has been invaded from outer space, and we are defenseless against these alien attack. People are scrambling for supplies. Things as commonplace as toilet paper and paper towels are nowhere to be found. Shopping carts have been commandeered and slammed together as frantic citizens are vying for positions, grabbing boatloads of supplies, often leaving the shelves of local grocery stores empty, leaving none and showing no regard for their neighbor. Not since the last World War has the world realized such a threat to survival. And yet, perhaps out of the rumble and ruin of an inept and now defenseless healthcare system will arise a new awareness in the minds of the peoples of Earth. For far too many years, we have depended on big pharma to save the day with the next new miracle pill. Yet, with the invasions of corona, we are left defenseless. Or are we? Did you know that the wisest and most powerful physician who ever walked this planet lives right inside of you? It reminds me of the 1939 movie called The Wizard of Oz. For the entirety of the movie, Dorothy was searching for a way home. She evaded wicked witches, flying monkeys, fell victim to patches of wild intoxicated poppies. Then the whole time, she had the power to find her way home. As Glinda the Good Witch of the North would finally reveal, all she had to do was click the heels of her ruby slippers together and repeat, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home." Inside every one of us dwells an incredible innate intelligence. It has a purpose, and that purpose is to survive. And for eons, this innate intelligence has ensured that we do survive. It wasn't until the advent of massive pharmaceutical cartel who put profit above people that we started down this path of magic pill dependence. Don't get me wrong, I realize how much modern medicine has added to our survival and our overcoming of hitherto overwhelming epidemics. But perhaps with this paradigm shift, it is time for the individual to take back control of his or her own health. And through the pages of this book, as we discuss new innovative ways for us to heal our own body and in the volume specifically addressing the multi-therapeutic approach sciatica, it is my goal and desire to help you not only address your sciatica, but also rise above the dependency for another, your amazing health potential, and take the reins and learn to guide you and learn to guide your life to where you can flourish and prosper, and while enjoying excellent health. So this was the beginning of my book, Copyright 2020. It was supposed to come out right in March, right when Corona hit. It was taken down because of that chapter. And then it was put back in. But, within the pages of this book, New Hope for Sciatica, we basically talk about why the body's got inflammation, why traditional medicine is failing us. Is it failing us? $4.7 trillion spent on it, and 70% of that masking symptoms or managing symptoms. So close to $4 trillion in our country masking symptoms. Well, I think that's failing us. The companies are happy and successful as ever. They think it isn't failing you or them, and it probably isn't. And how well will it turn around? It's going to be a long time to turn this ship. It's like the Titanic, it's heading toward that iceberg, and no matter how far and fast you turn that tiny little wheel, it's not going to be easy to turn the tide of this health epidemic that we have. But it starts with you. And if you're listening, then I challenge you to start looking at what you're putting in your body and on your body and surrounding your body with. What kind of foods are you eating? Are you eating industrial grains from this country, loaded with glyphosate and other pesticides and herbicides? You should stay away from grains grown in the United States. Make sure that you're eating organic foods that are not from some third world country that says organic on it. There was a big box store that had bags of frozen vegetables on it that said locally grown. And then on the back, if you looked, it said made in China. So locally grown in China, they just didn't say that unless you looked at the fine print and back. So buyer be wise, eater be wise, consumer be wise. But it's hard. You're never going to have perfect food. You're never going to have perfect water, perfect air, live with 100% perfect cotton everywhere. But the thing is that here we are today. Okay. Today, your health is where it is. It could be great, moderate, terrible. That now of a minute ago is now, now, now. So whatever you start to do, if you do the right things, it can start to change your health. So these are some of the things. Now, if you want to come to our office, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola, 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. If you just want to sit down and talk with me, we're pretty booked up. We can usually get somebody in though, especially if you say you're from the radio show, and they'll try to find a time for us to talk. Whether you have peripheral neuropathy, whether you have chronic pain that just won't go away, whether you have brain fog that's so bad that you don't know what to do about it, or just no energy. Maybe you have joint aches or shoulder problems. These are the type of things that we have different ways to help you in our office, and I'd be more than happy to see if we can help you. We definitely can't help everybody. We try. We're just not a fit with some people. They just don't, you can't get along with everybody. We try, but we also know when we're not the right office, whether it's just because of our process won't fit for that person, or if they have a health condition that they need a different type of practitioner for. It's so important that right now, I was talking to my staff today, we've seen some pretty crazy things come in this last couple years that we'd never see before in a chiropractic practice. We see low back pain, sciatica, headaches, neck pain, elbow pain, all that kind of stuff that's not really difficult for us to help. We've been helping that for years. Chiropractic was founded on that stuff. 1895 is when the first adjustment was made. A lot of people don't realize that chiropractic's been around for 120 years. It just had a lot of scrutiny from the Rockefellers in the early 1920s. They tried to wipe us out. Thank God for my predecessors that went to jail so many times to try to help people without medications or drugs. But here we are, 2025, and a chance to help you live the rest of your life better off than you are now. So, this means maybe helping you with your mobility, maybe your memory, maybe the pains that you're having. Um, the peripheral neuropathy is a terrible thing. We've been helping so many people with that, and that just means the nerve in the feet or hands are basically dying. Diabetes is the biggest cause of it, number one cause, and 60% of the people in this country are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and 50% of them will get peripheral neuropathy. So that's a pretty large portion of the population. 80% of the people will have low back pain at some point in their life, and sometimes we see people come in that have had, they've gone for the most aggressive treatment first because they believed in Western style medicine, and it may or may not have been the right thing to do. We go very conservatively. I always tell patients, in fact, I told a guy today, I only see the failures when people come in from other practitioners, probably just like them. We only see the things that didn't work. And oftentimes we're the last stop. People go, I've tried everything in the world. You're my last stop. I really hope you can help us. So your only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's Star Wars, some kind of celebration. But Obi-Wan Kenobi in your body is your own body's innate intelligence. So your only hope is Obi-Wan Kenobi of your body. And that is, it's your body knows how to heal. If you find a weed in the sidewalk, pull it out and see what happens. It grows back. The worst possible scenario, pull it out again. Put your car on it, kick it with your feet, put salt on it. It grows back. Why? Because life knows how to live, and it has a desire to live that almost nothing can cut short until it's ready to go. Unfortunately, look at how this species of us leaves this planet. It's not always just like dropping dead one day and going, okay, that's done. It was fun. Now it's over. That would be a good way to go. But most of us have chronic disease that lingers on and on and on, taking our freedoms, stealing our family away from us away from our family, putting a burden on our family or us or whoever else. And so much of it can be lessened and or prevented by learning how to take care of your health. My book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, is very helpful for that. You can get it on Amazon, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, New Help for Peripheral Neuropathy. And, I had a person come in today, second visit, said, I'm a quarter of the way through your book. It's helping tremendously. So, I just hope that people start to realize that there's a new path. The country's moving on a new path. Robert Frost said, two paths diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by. There was one last line to that, and it made all the difference. So two paths diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by. And so that's what you really want to do is if things aren't working the way you want health-wise, it's time to do something different. Now, you know, try to find out something that's been working scientifically and addresses your condition. So you can always check in with us and see if we can help you. We'd love to meet people and see what we can do to help them. So I'm talking about my book, New Hope for Sciatica, here for a little bit. It's really interesting. Sciatica can be caused from so many different things, from a pinched nerve in your back, a tight muscle. I actually had a condition where I broke my back when I was 12, pretty badly. Went undiagnosed. I was just given a lot of pain kills. Okay, so let's shoot forward after I went to a chiropractor and go from 12 to 66 years old when I developed, that's what, how many years? 54 years after I broke my back and was on under chiropractic maintenance care for 50 years to keep me functioning. And I'm 69, I can get around pretty well. But I developed sciatica. I'd written a book on sciatica. How come I've got sciatica? I know what to do about that. I went to every doctor I knew. I even got an MRI over the hill, and the doctor over there said, Dr. Solomon, I've used him quite a bit for my patients. He goes, Duncan, I hate to tell you, you've got less than a millimeter space for that low back nerve to come out and go down your leg. And it is got zero room now. You are going to have surgery to get that fixed. There's nothing left for you to do. Well, that's pretty bad words for me to hear. Nothing left but surgery. It was devastating. And I went, no, this is not right. I'm not going to do this, yet. And I just decided I'm going to keep looking and keep looking, try different things. I tried a different type of chiropractic I'd never tried before. I'd gone up to see some of my friends in the Bay Area and down in Monterey area. It goes, can you guys help me with this? It's ruining my life. I couldn't even go buy eggs. I was in so much pain. The worst sciatica I'd ever had. And I'd had bouts off and on because of my broken back. But I got adjusted by a friend of mine. I stepped outside of his office. One step, I felt like I got shot with a double barrel shotgun in my lower right hand groin, just exploded, and my appendix ruptured. So that's a hospitalization emergency surgery episode. And so I got to the hospital. They looked at it and said, yeah, you ruptured your appendix. We're going to have to take you into surgery right away. Well, I know when to hold them and when to fold them. I'm going, okay, well, go ahead, go for it. They stuck some morphine in me, and the rest, next thing I know, I woke up lying in bed and my sciatica had gone away. The magic to it is that appendix was so swollen in my gut with no symptoms until I had symptoms, which was severe sciatica. But I had this underlying condition going of toxins and inflammation, chronic inflammation pushing against that sciatic nerve, rendering me basically, I could not walk at all. And but soon as that appendix ruptured, it took the pressure off of that sciatic nerve and the pain went away. I had to recover from the surgery, but my sciatic pain never came back. That was in November of, I think, 2021 or 22, 21, I think. Now, I'd been a chiropractor for 30 years at the time, and I've been talking about hidden infections, chronic inflammation for years. And it's very humbling when you figure it out the hard way yourself. But that's been almost 4 years. I'm completely pain-free. I'm very ambulatory. I can do what I want when I want, as long as I want. But I keep in my boundaries. I understand that because to me, life is worth living and I want to go enjoy my life. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to be on medication. I'm on zero medications at 69 years old. I've never been on any chronic medication in my life, except for the drugs I got on Telegraph Avenue as a kid and elsewhere in my neighborhood. But yeah, and I don't plan on getting on any. I just keep my body healthy. Um, you do this by being aware of what you're putting in your body, finding out what you can do to get it healthy again. And, a lot of those drugs lead down to peripheral neuropathy. There's many of them. If you're taking any, don't stop taking them on my account. You got to work with a medical doctor on that if they prescribed them. I can't tell you to not take them. But I can say, why don't you work with your doctor and see if there's something that you can do to help your body heal itself? Because it's smarter than every possible scientist out there by a quadrillion fold. It knows what to do. Your body doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference. So what we do is we remove the interference. Sometimes it's harder to find than others, but That's why we do exams, consultations, take x-rays, and then clinical trials. You never know what it's going to do until you try something, if it's in line with what makes sense. Sometimes people come in and they get one of the stem cell machine treatments, a SoftWave therapy, and they go, how many do I need? And I go, I don't know yet. We got to do one first. It's like if I took my car into the shop and said, how much to fix it? And he goes, can I open the hood? And I go, no. How much to fix it? It's impossible to answer, but I can tell you it's worth it. If we help your body function better and stay healthier, it's worth it. So, I hope this has been helpful. Peripheral neuropathy is a thing. We can help a lot of people with it. The joint pains, shoulder pains, knee pains, those chronic injuries are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but we see those day in and day out. Chiropractic is excellent for that. But when we use our stem cell machine on those, along with the laser, it is just the cream on the top. It really helps get the body to do what it's supposed to do and does better, and that's heal. You just have to remove enough interference so the body knows what to do. And that's what we specialize in. If you are over in my area, over by Trader Joe's, and you see my office, come by and get a bottle of vitamin G. Just say, hey, can I get a bottle of vitamin G? We'll give you one for free, or several if you want to pass them out. Consider stopping by and talking with us and going, hey, can I find a time to sit down and talk to Dr. McCollum? I've got some health things I'd like to get figured out. And you never know. The worst thing that can happen is you be the same. And the better thing that would happen is your body's starting to do what it's supposed to do, and that's heal itself. So hopefully that makes sense. You can also email us at info@mccollumwellness.com. That's MCCOLLUM, info@mccollumwellness.com. And we'd be more than happy to see what we could do to help you. So I've just got about half a minute left. I'm going to have you guys listen to this song by Steve Funderburg again. You Can Be Free. And we'll see you next week.